Good afternoon. Welcome to Kenya News Update today. I'm your host, and we begin with a story that exposes the sophisticated underbelly of Kenya's digital financial crime. A suspected cyber fraudster was yesterday arraigned in court, charged with orchestrating a fraudulent scheme that siphoned off 11.4 million shillings from a leading microfinance institution. Directorate of Criminal Investigations says the action follows a formal complaint lodged by the institution, detailing a shocking incident that occurred on July 16, 2025. On that day, a total of 38 fraudulent transactions were executed in under 90 minutes, draining accounts and leaving investigators scrambling. This case, while significant, is just the tip of the iceberg in a growing wave of digital heists targeting Kenya's rapidly expanding financial sector. Today, we take a deep dive into this 11.4 million shilling microfinance heist, examine the suspect's alleged methods, and explore the broader, alarming trend of cyber fraud that is costing Kenyans billions. We'll also look at the challenges prosecutors face, highlighted by a separate case where a suspected mastermind of a 12 million shilling overseas job scam has skipped court for the third time. This is a 12-minute investigation into the digital thieves hiding behind screens. Let's first unpack the specifics of this microfinance case. According to court documents, the suspect, whose identity is protected as the case is active, is accused of gaining unauthorized access to the institution's internal payment systems. The alleged attack was not a blunt force data breach, but a carefully orchestrated social engineering and credential theft operation. Investigators believe the fraudster first obtained legitimate employee login details, possibly through phishing emails or malware. Once inside the system on July 16, 2025, they allegedly manipulated transaction parameters to authorize 38 separate transfers to a network of 9 different bank accounts, all registered under false identities. The total sum, 11.4 million shillings, vanished between 10:15 a.m. and 11:45 a.m. that morning. The microfinance institution's internal fraud detection systems reportedly flagged the anomaly, but not before the bulk of the funds had been moved. A formal complaint was lodged with the DCI's cybercrime unit the following day, July 17, 2025, initiating a 7-month investigation that culminated in yesterday's arraignment. The suspect faces multiple charges under the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, 2018, including unauthorized access, unauthorized interference, and false pretenses. Now, to understand the scale and method, let's visualize the heist's timeline and flow. The attack window was remarkably short. From initial login to the final transaction, the entire operation lasted approximately 90 minutes. The 38 transactions were not uniform. They ranged from 150,000 shillings to 450,000 shillings each, likely to avoid triggering specific single transaction alarm thresholds. The funds were funneled into 9 different accounts across 3 commercial banks. Forensic analysis suggests a classic smurfing technique, where a large sum is broken into smaller, less conspicuous amounts, and dispersed to multiple destinations for later consolidation. This level of planning indicates either a highly skilled individual or a coordinated group. The DCI has not ruled out the possibility of an insider providing initial information, though no charges have been filed on that front. The speed and precision of the attack expose a critical vulnerability. Many financial institutions, especially microfinance banks serving lower-income populations, have invested heavily in customer-facing security, but may have weaker internal system controls and employee cybersecurity training. This gap is what fraudsters are increasingly exploiting. This case is not happening in a vacuum. It fits into a disturbing national trend. According to the Central Bank of Kenya's latest annual report, reported cases of attempted cyber fraud against financial institutions rose by 35% between 2024 and 2025. The total value of attempted fraud in 2025 was a staggering 29.7 billion shillings. While the majority was intercepted, successful fraud still resulted in losses estimated at 2.1 billion shillings. Microfinance institutions and SACCOS are particularly attractive targets. They hold significant deposits, often have less sophisticated cybersecurity infrastructure compared to Tier 1 banks, and serve clients who may be less digitally literate. Another prevalent scheme, as seen in a related case, is the fake overseas job scam. In Eldoret, a suspected mastermind named Joseph Kano, alleged to have orchestrated a 12 million shilling scam promising non-existent jobs in Canada and Qatar, has now failed to appear in court for the third consecutive hearing. Senior Principal Magistrate Sh11.4 has ordered him to appear on February 19, 2026, with medical records, warning that further absence will result in an arrest warrant. This pattern of evasion highlights another major challenge. Even when suspects are identified, bringing them to justice is fraught with delays and obstacles. Let's bring in some perspective. We spoke to a cybersecurity expert who asked not to be named due to ongoing work with financial regulators. They told us the 11.4 million shilling case is a textbook example of business email compromise meets payment systems fraud. The initial entry point is almost always human error, a clicked link, a shared password. Once inside, the clock is ticking. The fraudster's efficiency in moving money within 90 minutes shows pre-planning. They knew exactly which menus to navigate, which approval limits to exploit. The real concern is the replication of this model. The tools and methods are being shared on dark web forums, commoditized. We're not just chasing one fraudster, we're chasing a blueprint. On the other hand, a legal advocate specializing in financial crime noted the prosecution's hurdles. The Computer Misuse Act is robust on paper, but evidentiary standards are high. You need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that this specific individual at this specific keyboard executed those commands. IP addresses can be spoofed, devices can be compromised. The defense will argue the suspect's credentials were stolen and used by another. The DCI's forensic report will be the cornerstone of the case. This tension between technical complexity and legal burden of proof defines Kenya's fight against cybercrime. Comparing the two active cases, the 11.4 million shilling microfinance heist and the 12 million shilling job scam, reveals two faces of modern fraud. The first is a direct, technical attack on a financial institution's core systems. It's a crime against a corporate entity, sophisticated and silent. The second is a mass social engineering attack on individual hopes and aspirations. Joseph Kano's alleged scam targeted hundreds of individuals, each paying fees for visa processing, medical checks, and agency fees for jobs that never existed. While the methods differ, the enabling factors are similar. The pervasive use of mobile money and digital banking makes fund transfer easy, the high demand for employment creates vulnerable targets, and the jurisdictional complexities of cybercrime investigations slow down responses. The Eldoret case also underscores a cultural and legal challenge, the tendency for suspects to avoid court, citing illness, which prolongs cases and denies victims closure. Magistrate Cherano's insistence on medical documentation is a direct response to this tactic. What does this mean for the average Kenyan and the stability of our financial system? The direct impact is a loss of trust. When a microfinance institution is hacked, its customers, often small business owners, farmers, and traders, worry about the safety of their hard-earned savings. While deposits are typically insured, the psychological blow is significant. Indirectly, these losses contribute to higher costs for everyone. Financial institutions spend billions on cybersecurity, costs that are ultimately passed on through fees or lower interest on deposits. Furthermore, successful fraud attracts more fraud. Kenya's reputation as a global leader in mobile finance makes it a high-profile testing ground for cybercriminals. The government, through the DCI and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, is attempting to ramp up capacity. The formation of dedicated cybercrime units and the establishment of specialized courts are positive steps. However, the conviction rate for high-level cyber fraud remains low, often resulting in plea bargains for lesser charges or cases collapsing due to technicalities. Looking ahead, the trajectory is concerning. As artificial intelligence tools become more accessible, we can expect more convincing phishing campaigns, deepfake audio for authorizing transactions, and automated software probing for system weaknesses. The solution requires a multi-layered approach. First, prevention. Financial institutions must adopt a zero-trust security model, where internal networks are not inherently trusted, and multi-factor authentication is mandatory for all system access. Continuous employee training is non-negotiable. Second, detection and response. Investing in real-time transaction monitoring AI that can spot anomalous patterns, like 38 transactions in 90 minutes, and freeze activity immediately. Third, legal and judicial reform, streamlining the process for admitting digital evidence, protecting forensic integrity, and imposing stringent consequences for those who obstruct justice by skipping court. The repeated absence of suspects like Joseph Kano must be met with swift and certain action, including immediate asset forfeiture proceedings. In conclusion, The arraignment of the suspect in the 11.4 million shilling microfinance heist is a significant milestone, but it is only one battle in a long war. It demonstrates that the DCI can track and apprehend sophisticated digital criminals. Yet the parallel case in Eldoret, where a suspect repeatedly ignores court summons, shows how fragile the judicial process can be. These stories are connected by a single thread: the exploitation of Kenya's digital advancement for criminal gain. For the Ruto administration, which has championed the digital economy, making cybersecurity a national security priority is essential. It involves not just catching fraudsters after the fact, but hardening our financial infrastructure to prevent the theft in the first place. The 11.4 million shillings may be recovered, or it may not. The greater cost is the erosion of confidence in the systems that power our economic future. The question remains, are we building our digital future faster than criminals can devise ways to steal it? For now, the race continues. Subscribe to Kenya News Update today for more in-depth coverage of the stories that shape our nation.